Hi, my name is Barb Price. Welcome to my review of Bloom's Taxonomy. Educators have been using Bloom's Taxonomy for over 50 years. Today it is still a popular instructional design tool. It is used to design and evaluate lessons, courses, programs, and curriculum. In my workplace, it is used to create course objectives for nursing courses and to make revisions to the BSN curriculum. In my review of Bloom's Taxonomy, I will describe and analyze the framework. I will examine the strengths, weaknesses, and best practices for using this tool. I will also consider whether Bloom's Taxonomy can be a valuable tool for designing online instruction in today's rapidly changing learning environments. In 1948, Dr. Benjamin Bloom met with colleagues to discuss creating a classification system to provide a theoretical framework for communicating in the field of education. 34 educators from universities across the country met annually over 5 years to develop the handbook. It was published in 1956. The taxonomy was created to provide a systematic classification of cognitive operators. It was widely used by educators to evaluate course materials and to test outcomes. Learning was categorized into 3 domains: cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. The handbook focused on the cognitive domain. A second handbook was published in 1964. It focused on the affective domain. The psychomotor handbook was never completed. In Bloom's taxonomy, the cognitive domain is divided into 6 levels of learning. They are organized in the basis of hierarchy. At the base of the pyramid is knowledge, with a focus on memorization. The second level is comprehension, with a focus on organizing ideas and interpreting information. The third level is application, with a focus on problem solving. The fourth level is analysis, which focuses on finding organization and dividing a whole into components. The fifth level is synthesis, which focuses on combining ideas to form something new. And the top level is evaluation, which focuses on making judgments and resolving disparities. Each level requires higher level thinking than the lower level below, and each level integrates previous levels to advance to the next level. Although this framework was intended for higher education, it was widely used in primary and secondary education as well. In 2001, Bloom's taxonomy was revised by a group of 8 scholars. There were about a dozen changes, and I will discuss a few of the more significant changes. There was a change in terminology from noun format to a verb format. This change emphasized active cognitive behaviors desired from students. This also made it easier for educators to use. Evaluation and synthesis traded places at the top of the pyramid to reflect that creating something new was the highest level of learning. A knowledge dimension was added to take into consideration the different types of knowledge of factual, conceptual, procedural, and metacognitive. In the new revised taxonomy, at the base of the pyramid was remembering, followed by understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. Action verbs for each level were added. For this presentation, when I refer to Bloom's taxonomy, I am referring to the revised Bloom's taxonomy. Here the action verbs are shown in a table format. The Bloom's taxonomy can be shown in many different formats. You'll find it in a variety of different formats. One of the challenges in instructional design is devising objectives, related activities that can direct students to the higher levels of learning. Here's a display of Bloom's taxonomy with action verbs shown above each cognitive operator. Different activities and assessments that would be appropriate for that level are shown below the cognitive operator, making it very easy to use. Bloom's taxonomy is a framework. It is a conceptual tool used in education to plan and for the evaluation of courses and curriculum. Bloom's taxonomy focuses more on the overall structure rather than a specific methodology. The theory paradigm is behaviorism. Behaviorism is a learning theory that focuses on objectively observable behaviors rather than independent activities of the mind. Behaviorist theories define learning as acquisition of new behavior based on environmental conditions. It was a popular theory at the time Bloom and his team were developing their taxonomy. The taxonomy classification system fit very well with this learning theory. In my analysis, I determined that Bloom's taxonomy can be applied by novice instructional designers. The framework is easy to understand, and appropriate verbs are provided for each level. It has even been used to train prospective teachers on how to write learning objectives. Intermediate and expert designers also use Bloom's taxonomy in conjunction with other instructional design models. For example, setting learning objectives is an important step in the ADDIE model and other instructional design models. So using verbs from Bloom's taxonomy can be very helpful. Bloom's taxonomy is also very useful in different educational settings, including K through 12, higher education, business, government, training programs, and wherever learning objectives are needed. As for the levels of instruction, it is well suited for course and curriculum level, but it can also be used successfully with other levels of instruction as well. And finally, Bloom's taxonomy works well with procedural tasks because it provides verbs which can be used for criterion referenced evaluation. It can also be used for declarative tasks to develop and evaluate student progress. One of the strengths of Bloom's taxonomy is its usefulness for learning objectives. As you can see here, the verbs and activities for each level are shown, making it very easy to look at your learning objectives and determine if they're more on the left side, the lower level of learning, and if so, try to change them and revise them to move them more towards the right or higher levels shown on the right of this table. It is very simple, and that is one of its strengths. Simple to understand and simple to use. It is also versatile, as I mentioned before. It can be used in online courses, classroom settings, can be used with other instructional design models, and in a variety of settings with all kinds of learners of different ages. It does have its weaknesses. The pyramid structure is misleading. Taxonomy is not a sequence, and learning can take place in any order at any level. Bloom's taxonomy has been misused by teachers who think they need to start with knowledge before they can move up to the pyramid to higher levels of learning, and this is simply not true. Another criticism is that it's pointed in the wrong direction. Some people feel that the highest level of learning, the ultimate goal of learning, is to discover new knowledge. So knowledge should be at the top of the pyramid, with all other levels helping you to reach that goal. I consider one of the weaknesses to be the overlap between levels. The levels of analysis, synthesis, and evaluation are similar and they do overlap, making it confusing. Therefore, it might be better to combine them into one level and then also combine the 3 lower levels of concrete knowledge into one level, so that there are only 2 levels instead of 6 levels in this taxonomy. So how useful is Bloom's taxonomy for designing online instruction? I found several research articles that found benefits for using it with online instruction. And one research study found that in building online courses, using Bloom's taxonomy to provide similarity to the purposes of the courses, activities, and assessments were achieved. Another study found that Bloom's taxonomy was used as an assessment tool to compare student performance in traditional courses with student performance in online simulations. And using Bloom's taxonomy helped them determine that. The list of verbs can be used to originate discussion questions that touch on all stages of cognitive thought, and also to categorize student responses into different learning levels. This table shows how that works, with the knowledge shown on the left and the different levels of learning across the row across the top. And in the student responses, you can categorize them onto the table, and if the responses are more towards the right of the table, that reflects higher learning. There's another benefit, and that is an active learning. A study involving 2 games, 2 classrooms, and 2 methods, the researchers found that by following a simple strategy involving active learning across the 3 primary domains, instructors could dramatically improve the quality of the lesson and help students retain and understand the information. In conclusion, Bloom's taxonomy has been used to develop innovative courses, create and align learning objectives, lessons, and assessments to achieve all cognitive levels. Research has shown the benefits of revised Bloom's taxonomy for meaningful learning, unit planning, assessment, curricular alignment, instruction, and metacognitive knowledge. Half a century after being published, it continues to be a popular and well-used tool. And it can also be valuable in online instruction. Thanks for listening to my presentation.